It's something that we've definitely not seen. Art is God, and God is art. God is the greatest artist. So you get to see God help people in the way that He knows how to do best. What are some practical tips that you can give for maintaining a healthy, fulfilling marriage? Listen, in January this year, I thought I had hacked it, and I realized that I'm starting from ground zero again. Because the truth is, even if you go through marriage counseling and read all the books, you have no idea what's in front of you. We made me go through a lot. So how do we cultivate that sexual intimacy with our spouse to ensure that the marriage is still strong? A lot of people think that intimacy is sex. It's not true. Intimacy is a foundation of sex. What keeps you going? What's your passion? What's your mission? What drives you? There are so many challenges. It's not enough to note what the problems are. We have to be the ones to create the solutions. How do you balance it all? There is no balance. What does success look like to you? I have a question for you. What does success look like to you? That's a good one. No one's ever asked me that. Welcome to Unheard the pod. And today's guest with us is someone who is not focused on self. That's one of the rules that we have, by the way. We don't focus on self, we don't compare ourselves, and we follow the will of God. And she definitely embodies all three values that we follow. And she's someone that she thinks outside of the box, and she also puts others into consideration. I mean, she's someone who thinks of children and who has a business and an NGO that is really centered on children. I have INIABASI Leye with us today, and I'm gonna call her Ini because I really like that name. Everyone calls me Ini, so it's like, what's the meaning of your name? INIABASI means God's time. Wow, that's really beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And you are the founder of Rooms Art Therapy, right? And we've been doing a lot of research around it, and it's something that we've definitely not seen, in this space. So could we just go into what you do, and then we can also even focus on the one that you do with children, neurodivergent children. I know we're going to talk about it throughout this podcast, but just for the person that's listening to really, because we are intrigued by your profile, and I'm sure that they are also intrigued by your profile. So if you could just break it down for us. Rooms is an art therapy company. Mm-hmm. So I'm an art therapist, and what we do basically is therapy sessions, what we inculcate art. So we inculcate music, scribbling, writing, all forms of art, actually meditation, painting, sketching. The idea is to help you in the most natural way that comes to you and help you actually be in tune with the child at heart, while helping you to heal, moving forward with your journey in life. It's really an interesting occupation, and it's a privilege that I get to do it, because art is God. And God is art. God is the greatest artist. Yeah. And so you get to see God help people in the way that He knows how to do best. Not saying that there is no other way. Yeah. But yes, it's the most natural way, and it's really amazing, to be honest. And you get to see people be children again. Because really, when you're dealing with anything in life and just growing up in life, what you really are looking for is how to be a child again. Yeah. Yeah. So 2622 is what you're asking about. So it's an art therapy curriculum that we developed for neurodivergent children. And it is, we're kicking off with the summer school. It's an individual participatory research program, in that it involves each child being involved in participating in the curriculum. So it's not just we teaching you, but you have to be a participant. And it's a research program because as you participate with the models that we have created, we evaluate you and give you back the results of the evaluation, or give you the results of the evaluation, and let you know how the whole idea is to figure out the communicative languages and how the neurodivergent brain processes cognitively, and let the child know, let the parent know, and let the caregivers know, so that it enables them to help them and aid them as they develop. Because the challenge mostly is that neurodivergent children, or the myth is that neurodivergent children have challenges communicating. But the problem really is not that they have a problem communicating with us, it's that we do not understand what their communicative languages are, because we do not take the time to evaluate and process with them as they're processing, because their brains actually function differently, so that's it in a nutshell. Is there a reason why you decided to, or was this Some people, it's a gift from God. It's something that they know they're supposed to do, because this is something that is so pure. This is something that is so beautiful, because you are literally thinking of different families. You're not just thinking of a particular type of child. You're thinking of different children with different families. These are different families in the future. These are, you're already bringing to light the beauty and the healthy part of families in the future. And I think it is a story that we are glad that you were sharing this with us. And I'm very excited to see how this, grows, and how this is filling in this space. Like I started with, this is something that we haven't seen. This is something that is very different. And it is something that is very honorable, to do. So thank you so much. It's time. Yeah, it's time. Your name. Oh gosh. Yeah. No wonder. Yeah, I think your name is prophetic. Yeah. So can we know what drives you? What drives you? What's your passion? What drives you to keep, wanting to do more, to keep wanting not to focus on self, to keep moving forward, and to also think of different ways to include what you do and to present it to the world? What keeps you going? What's your passion? What's your mission? What drives you?
God. First and foremost, my identity is rooted in being a solutionary. And so we are living in a world that has fallen, and there are so many challenges, multiple problems. It's not enough to note what the problems are. We have to be the ones to create the solutions, because Psalms 82 actually accurately tells us that we are gods and we don't know it. It also says that the systems of the world are broken because you are living in mediocre complacency. And so, which tells us, and God is speaking to us, and he's saying it in such a way where he's upset, which shows us that we have a mandate. It shows me that I have a mandate to be on this earth and help to partner with God to balance out, fix the broken systems of the world. And so every day I wake up and discover a problem, and I don't even think that I discover it. I know that if I'm opportuned to come across a problem, it's because God brought my attention to it. And it's because he's seeking giving me another opportunity to partner with him in fixing the broken systems of the world. And so really, in essence, this is what drives me. And another thing that drives me is having experienced life. It's like the Samaritan woman at the well. When you experience life and then you experience God, your reflex is to go back and tell the world and say, hey, I've found a solution. I found someone who told me a story of my life, and he's offered me something way better than the water at the well. And so that's another thing that drives me. When you discover life, I've discovered life. I've experienced life. I've discovered God. And so in these ways, because it's not enough, the gospel is enough. The gospel is news that is too good to be true. And so it's not enough to just know the news. Yeah, you have to be able to partner with God. And it's not enough to have a passion to want to share it. You have to partner with God and get blueprints and strategy to be able to, spread it and create solutions so that people don't just get solutions, but they get God.
Yeah.
So that's it.
It's really profound. That's deep. Thank you so much. So well, one of the things that, I found interesting about you is marriage. You're very passionate about, wholenessness and, having individualities, your individual strengths, and also strong intimacy with your partner and effective communication skills with your partner in order to bridge any gap and ensure that because once the marriage is healthy and whole, the family is whole. So I think it is also another way you have seen a problem and then you've started providing that solution. So, for the woman who is on her own lane, who wants to nurture a sense of, self and wholeness in marriage, what are some practical tips that you can give for maintaining a healthy, fulfilling marriage?
It's so amazing. I was having a conversation about this exact same thing last night. with a mentee of mine. I hate to say that word, but hey, I think that's the stage that we're at now in life. And I said to her, I'll say to you, let God teach you. That's the only tip I have. I'm not afraid and not ashamed to say that I'm still learning a lot. And every single step of the way, I've been married 7 years now. And every single step of the way, it's God teaching me something new. God teaching me something. Listen, January this year, I thought I had hacked it. And I realized that I'm starting from ground zero again. So let God teach you. Because, your marriage is fashioned for you and your spouse. And it's uniquely fashioned for you. It's just like your relationship with God. I can tell you intimacy with God is so important, but I can't really tell you about the details of your relationship with God because that's for you and God. And that's the reason why you have to know God for yourself. And so in your marriage with your spouse, 2 things. 1, let God teach you. Let God lead you. Don't underestimate the power of the Holy Spirit. And that's the truth. You cannot do life in itself without God, without the Holy Spirit. So you cannot do marriage without the Holy Spirit because you are from a completely different background than this other person is. Yes, 2 have become 1, but 2 were actually completely different individuals before you came together. It's like 2 square pegs trying to fit in a round hole. There's a lot of shaving that's going to happen. There's a lot of molding that's going to happen, a lot of dissolving, a lot of diffusion that's going to happen. And so you can only do that successfully, albeit with the Holy Spirit, because there's also a lot of death to self, a lot of sacrificing that's going to happen. The second thing is let intimacy be your watchword. It's not about having strong intimacy. Intimacy is it. The foundation of everything you will build in your marriage is intimacy, and it's intimacy with your spouse, intimacy with God. And you both have to have individual intimate relationships with God, and then intimacy together as a couple with God, and then intimacy with each other. Your intimacy with God will fuel everything. Again, your intimacy with God will enable God to teach you and how to be a spouse in your marriage. Because the truth is, even if you go through marriage counseling and read all the books, you have no idea what's in front of you, and only God can lead you through that. So yeah, that's it.
Definitely. I agree with you.
Can I just add? Because a lot of times when we throw these words around, we don't know what that looks like. What does intimacy look like? Intimacy is vulnerability and honesty in a nutshell. That's it.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that intimacy is sex. It's not true. Intimacy is a foundation of sex. Intimacy looks like connection, bonding, being honest, being vulnerable. And what that means is basically what the Bible refers to being naked and unashamed. Letting your spouse know everything and all, and then being a safe enough person for your spouse to let you know everything and all. So yeah.
You were just even about to answer. I was about to ask the next question, which was about sexual intimacy as well. So I'm happy that you started with the fact that intimacy is not just sex. Intimacy is being open, because a lot of people have that misconception. And I'm glad that you were able to clear that out before we even moved into the next question, which is, why is sexual healing and intimacy so crucial in marriage? How can women, because women may go through a lot. Before, when we get married, 2 shall become 1 flesh. We have a lot that we are open to our spouse, and then we now go through the beautiful thing, the beautiful gift called motherhood. Bodies change, our lives change. We're not just for us anymore, and just not just for our spouse. So how do we cultivate that, healthy relationship where we can have sexual intimacy with our spouse and ensure that our mindset and our communication skills are still effective to ensure that the marriage is still strong?
I don't think that it's sexual healing as much as it is soul healing, because it's really your soul and it's really your mindset and your perception about sex, about intimacy, about marriage and motherhood as a whole. And I know that we're just talking about women, but I'd also like to say that this goes for men too. It goes for everyone, because there's no use healing the woman if the man is not healed.
Sure.
You're just throwing yourself in a vicious cycle of constantly having to be healed all over again. Okay, so sex is a gift. I think that the major challenge is in understanding exactly what sex is and why sex is. When the function of a thing is not known, it is abused. And that's what has happened with sex over the years, over centuries. It's important to note that sex is a gift. God made sex. God gifted us sex because sex is akin to worship. Now, sex is akin to worship because when you come into the presence of God, the more you worship, and when you behold the presence of God, the more you worship, the more you become. And the more you become one with God, the more you look like him. Have you ever seen a couple where you see that they're starting to look alike?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the more you come together, the more there's a molding and there's a joining all over again. It's why it's a lifelong dance. Yeah. For sex to be a gift, it means that we now have to unwrap this gift and unravel it day after day, month after month, year after year, discover it, treat it as sacred. In order for that to happen, we have to get to know what it's about. In order for us to get to know what it's about, we have to approach it with an open mind. In order for you to approach it with an open mind, you have to heal from the perceptions that you've had of sex before. Now, the perceptions you've had of sex before could be from past experiences, conversations, influences from the media or from novels, or even negative experiences that you've acquired along the way that you didn't ask for but might have been given to you. And so it's important that the healing of that happens not just before and during.
True. During.
Healing is not a one-time thing.
Okay.
It's a constant. It's a journey. Healing is renewal over and over again. What does the Bible say? That be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. He didn't say the renewal. He said the renewing, meaning that it's a continuous thing. It will happen over and over again. And so that's why that's important, because you will get into marriage and you must understand that there is a digging of foundational awareness that must happen, a digging and uprooting. Now, I'm taking my time to give you all this context because you can't just answer a question like this with a plain answer. There are a lot of layers that go into it. When you get married as a woman, you have so many expectations. You're anticipating so much. And then you get into marriage, you're anticipating so much, positive and negative. And you get into marriage and your walls are either shattering or going up because you're faced with a disappointment, a de-escalation of excitement, an awareness of reality.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if you weren't ready or you weren't told or it's not fair. But you have to understand that life isn't what you expect of it. Life is what you make of it. And so whilst you're there, whilst you're becoming a wife, learning about sex, because guess what? As you're learning about sex, your husband is also. He may act like he knows it all, like as if he is the greatest stallion that ever lived, but he's learning. Because even if you've had sex before, of which I will explain, please remind me to explain why God says do not fornicate. I will explain it. Even if you've had sex before, you haven't had sex with this person. And so she's not the same. He's not the same. So you're going to have to learn his body, learn his nuances, learn his love languages and how they apply to sex. You're going to have to learn his sex languages as well. You're going to have to learn so much, not just his, hers, it goes both ways. And so this is why, and all of this has to do with sex, soul healing, sexual healing, soul healing, everything you asked. And so while you're there and you're learning about sex, learning how to be a wife, learning how to be a mom, your body is changing. Everything has to do with the mindset and perspective shifts per time and per season of your life. And always, all the time, you have to be open to learning. It's not that you're open to learning because you don't know anything about it, but you have to be open to learning because what you knew yesterday may not be what you know today. So yeah. That's it.
Can we go into, as you said, I should remind you
why God said don't fornicate. It's not that God didn't want us to have a good time. And it wasn't that God didn't want us to enjoy the pleasures of the world. But you see, everything that God does is good because God himself is good. God gave the 10 commandments, not so that we would fear him. That's part of it. But that wasn't the crux of why God gave the 10 commandments, because he wanted to protect us from ourselves. The Israelites had just come out of Egypt. Picture this. They were in the land of Egypt in captivity for years and years. They're finally free. They're finally in a place where there's no pharaoh, no authority, no one beating them, no one commanding them. There are no rules and no schedules to their going and they're coming out. There's nothing. Like, you can wake up in the morning and just chill. You can wake up in the morning and sleep with this person. You don't even care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's nothing. There's
no rain.
And so God decided to give them laws. Also, at the time, if you look at the 10 Commandments, everything is interconnected. At the time, what was happening was, because there was freedom and because there was just life, everyone was sleeping with everyone, sleeping with your brother sleeping with my mom. It was wild, it was a time. And so God gave the instruction, do not fornicate, because as with everything, every sin is multiplied. Every sin is amplified. And as there was the sleeping around, there was the fornication, there was also murder. Because anger, lust is a package deal. It comes with so much. It comes with soul ties. It comes with anger. It comes with resentment. It comes with so many spirits that are attached to it. So when God says, do not fornicate, he knows what he's saying. He knows that there are certain things you're going to have to deal with after that you do not need. A lot of the things that people struggle with after fornication are unnecessary battles that they could have avoided. But yeah, that's just me dropping that in there.
As you wrap it up, how do you balance it all? The demands of motherhood, marriage, and all that you do. And as an individual, as Ini, what does success look like to you?
There is no balance.
There's no,
when people ask, how do you balance work? But there is no balance. There's no balance. Something will always have to give. Something always takes precedence. So something always has to take priority. It is just wisdom and the Holy Spirit teaching you what is important right now and being present in the now. So if right now I have to be here, I'm here with you. And also understanding that there is no balance. There's never going to be a balance. Okay. My kids are always going to need me. Work is always going to need me. I will always have ideas. I will always be coming up with solutions. And so I'm trusting God to lead me every step of the way, while God balances, because to find a balance, it means that I become God and also learning how to delegate, learning how to ask for help, learning how to receive help, learning how to find the right help. One of my amazing assets in life is my assistant, Precious. She balances my life. I always tell people when they're asking me, I'm like, you know what, let me give you Precious's number. She'd help you out. So yeah, that's it. There's no balance. Just being present and understanding what's important per time and knowing how to learning, because you don't know. You learn. Yeah, learning how to. It's a continuous journey, learning how to navigate the everyday. But yeah.
So what does success look like to you?
What does success look like to me? Just this morning, I was telling my sister, we were looking at an Instagram post of some people living in the countryside, all their siblings together, just going to work, coming back and just chilling, no demands. I'm like, this is where I want to be in life. But on a serious note, success looks like raising children that are amazing people in society and creating a legacy, leaving it for them and for everyone who comes behind you, a legacy of pouring out everything that I have inside of me. That's what success looks like. That with every room I enter, every place I sit down in, or every space I enter, I take it up, not because I want to be known, but I take it up because I take charge of the atmosphere and I pour into it, not just spiritually, emotionally, mentally, creatively, excellently. And when I leave that space, I've left a mark there. That's success.
I love the fact that it's, like I said from the beginning, it's not about, you're not thinking about you. You're thinking about how you can love others. You're thinking about how you can pour yourself out into others' life beyond you. So thank you for sharing this wisdom and love.
I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
What does success look like to you?
That's a good one. No one's ever asked me that. So success to me, honestly, is looking back and my life when I'm 90 or by God's grace 100 with good strength, and I'm surrounded by, loved ones. I'm surrounded by friends, people that I have lived a life with, and I have also left a legacy for generations of women who are not focused on self, who are focused on what God has given them individually, who are not thinking about what anyone else is doing. And they are also pouring into the next generation of women. They are mindful of the fact that it's not about me. I need to pour into her. She needs to pour into her, because we have a mission from God. And then when I leave this earth, I am in heaven with my Father, and I look back and I look to my left, look to my right. I see my sisters. I see other women who have done amazing things, all of us with our crowns, laying it aside before our Father and just giving Him glory with our families, with our friends, with our loved ones. We have lived, and now we are living with our Father. That's success to me.
So good. So good. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Thank you for putting me on the spot.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So thank you so much for joining today's episode. If you have 1 or 2 things that you learned, please drop it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, and to share. Bye for now. Don't stop walking on your own lane.